So tonight we're going to talk about the rut, the strange and bizarre Florida rut. Many times you've heard me say the best information that you can gather about the Florida rut is your personal experience. I'm going to share my personal experience. I've got some bucks that I've killed in the past. Now, something that I've always done was I would inquire of people that had killed a deer or killed a noteworthy deer on a management area, and maybe casual conversation, maybe at the check station, maybe somebody that I know that killed a deer. I would ask them questions that were not intrusive, that they really didn't feel like it was an invasion of their personal hunting privacy for me to ask them a question and try and put together the pieces of the puzzle for the management area that they were hunting. Because in Florida, the rut is all over the board. So we're going to look at some of my bucks that I've killed, and I'm going to go step by step, the experience and what I learned on each hunt, and break it down for you. You kill your own deer, you need to learn to ask yourself, as I do, questions. Why was he on his feet? What was he doing over there? Why was he behaving in that manner? And slowly begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together that we call hunting the rut, figuring it out, putting the odds more in our favor, becoming woodsmen, becoming naturalists, becoming better hunters. I'm Peter Updike, and this is the Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman YouTube channel. What you saw there in the slideshow is a celebration. I don't like signs, but they're there. It is a celebration of our freedom to hunt and to fish and enjoy the natural world that we have, and to kill deer and kill hogs and to kill turkey, and take advantage of it. Bring them home and enjoy and eat and do it again. All right, here comes the video. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see the slideshow that I've prepared, and we'll stop on each buck and I'll give you the rundown on what I learned from each hunt. Here we go. All right, so let's start with the first one. You might have to adjust your volume a little bit. I got to turn the camera around to make this work. But this buck was killed during the muzzleloader season here in Central Florida. He's a little 7-pointer. He was a young deer, good legal buck for that area, and I was real happy to shoot him. But I bring up this deer because there really is no sign or evidence that deer was doing anything but wandering around. Okay, so yeah, sometimes you're successful because a buck doesn't know any better, especially the younger deer. These are the first ones that die during hunting season, the ones that are just on their feet wandering around and trying to make heads or tails of their life. And yeah, I was happy to bring this buck home. All right, now this buck is within that same category. He's a little better deer. I killed this buck during the muzzleloader season, and I saw this deer during the archery season and killed him with my muzzleloader. I had shot a hog with my bow, and I went down to retrieve my hog, and I was there gutting the hog when the deer came walking down the same trail that the hog walked down. And I saw him, that would have been a week before I killed him. And then I killed this buck during the muzzleloader season. Again, he was just walking down a trail, wasn't doing anything in particular, but yeah, again, this is just a small young deer. This is a young deer just roaming around. Okay, wasn't really, didn't have anything on his mind except going from point A to point B. All right. Now this buck, I killed this deer during the archery season. This is that 8-point that I showed you last week on the video. Now this buck, I killed this buck. He was chasing a doe. Best I can tell, the doe came running past me, and I was able to arrow this deer on a second attempt. He ran past me, and I shot at him, and he ran right underneath my stand, and I missed him, and he turned around and he came back. If you want to hear the full story, it's on the previous video. But yeah, he was grunting and carrying on, and had his nose to the ground, and was hot trailing that doe. And that doe was trying to get away from him, and then, I don't know, I suppose it was about 45 minutes after that, he came back down that same trail and gave me a second chance, and I was able to kill this buck. But he was indeed chasing a doe, but the question remains for me is, why was he the only deer chasing that area? Had lots of sign, and there were lots of bucks in that area. I don't understand why he was the only buck chasing that doe. But nevertheless, this buck was on his feet, and I heard him coming. He was grunting and carrying on. I don't know if he got what he was after, but he was a fine buck, and I was glad to let him ride in the back of my truck. But I'm going to put him in the category as chasing a doe. Okay. All right, now this is one of my better deer. This buck had been seen by several people, and we knew he was in the area, and nobody had a chance to shoot him. And then I got off work early one Friday afternoon, went and got in my ladder stand, and was able to kill this buck. This buck was just, again, it was early season, and he was kind of wandering around, and he was doing what I call cruising. He was going from, there were several rubs and several scrapes from one end of the block to the other, and he was working them and coming back and forth. So yeah, if there's a portion of the rut that the deer is on his feet, this was late in the afternoon. I killed him, I don't know, about an hour before dark. And yeah, I had seen him earlier that afternoon, but just saw his back half, and saw him down through the timber there. And I said, wow, that looked like a pretty good body on that deer. And then next thing I know, he came around and came back by me, and I was able to put a good shot on him. But I think this buck was probably working scrapes and was visiting rubs, and the rut had not yet, for that area, had not really geared up yet. Yeah, or it was early, but he was basically wasn't doing much at all. But yeah, I think he was probably going from spot to spot, and I was set up on an area where he was walking, and it was a good hunt. I was real happy to kill this deer. I think there's another picture of that same deer. Yeah, that's the same buck, and he was 5.5 years old, and again, no real evidence of any rut. He didn't have any smell to him. He wasn't doing anything that would indicate to me that the rut was on. And again, it was early November. And my theory is that if a buck is on his feet during the daytime, especially a buck like this, that something's definitely going on. These larger, older deer in Florida typically are nocturnal. You'll get them occasionally in a daytime shot here and there, but most of the time they're going to be pretty nocturnal. And having this deer up on his feet tells you that something is up. And the thing about the Florida rut, you have to remember, the Florida rut is not obvious. Not like it is in other areas. I've hunted other areas where you see physical evidence year after year after year at the same time of the year, same time of the season. And that I just haven't experienced that on our management areas here in Central Florida. Maybe you have. Comment and let me know. But he was a fine buck, and glad to have taken him. All right, so this buck was working rubs, and I killed him in a very wet area, so I doubt seriously that there were any real scrapes in the area. But I was in my climbing stand, and I heard some commotion to my left, and the best I can recall, the best I can come to, is he was fighting a tree. He wasn't making a rub, but I think he was hooking a tree. He was, as you can see, this is probably the oldest deer that I've ever killed. He was aged at about 8.5 years old, and he's got great big heavy bases, but you'll see up here at the top he's kind of lacking in antler growth, that he's actually begun to go the other way. And you can see how gray he is here in the face. But when I shot him, he came trotting by me like he was on a mission. And again, that was early November. It was right after the season had started when I'd killed that deer. Again, this is another example of a buck that should be nocturnal, but is on his feet and on a mission. And that's the evidence of rut. Okay, that would be a good evidence that the rut is either in swing, or there are some does in heat, or he's looking for does. Yeah, the rut here in Florida is so subtle. That was a fine buck. I've got him mounted. All right, so here's another one. This buck was with 6 does when I shot him. Now this is my hunting companion. This is the same hunting companion in this picture here, Mr. Bill. He lived next door to me, and you can see here he's aged quite a bit there. And yeah, this is towards the end. We were hunting together. This is the only buck of this caliber that we killed together. I was taking him down to his stand, and we were hunting private land on this hunt, and I was taking him down to his stand, and there was a buck, this buck, standing with 6 does in view of his stand. I told him, I said, Mr. Bass, I said, there's a buck with 6 does right down there from your stand. He said, shoot him. So I shot him. And that's the only deer of this caliber. We killed some smaller deer together, but this is the first one, and this holds a great memory for me. And he, as you can see, he's thrilled. This is at my house, and I think he passed away year after that. He went downhill. As you can see, he's getting very old here. But man, he hunted until he was like 80, and it was quite the experience. But this was a good buck. I've got him on the wall, and he was with does. So obviously there was something on again for this area. Early November, right? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. That's a picture. That's the same deer right there. Same buck. All right, so this buck was killed mid-November on Management Area. He's a pretty good buck. He was a main frame 10. He was aged at 5.5 years old. And I killed this deer around 1:30 in the afternoon, right smack dab in the middle of the day. I got another picture of him here. And he's my half moon buck. And if you've heard my story, it's in my book, Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman. This is the completion of that little quest when I killed this deer. But this deer was with a doe, and actually was tending a doe. And again, it was mid-November. I think it was the second gun hunt of the Half Moon Wildlife Management Area. And bucks are a funny thing. They don't mature bucks. They don't behave like the younger bucks do, and they certainly don't behave like the does. They are apart. They have a personality and a behavior all their own. But when it comes to procreating, they'll get on their feet, and they'll be with that same doe. And he was following along with her. In fact, he was following along with her so closely that I had missed an opportunity to kill him and thought my chance to shoot him had passed. And I saw that doe about, I don't know, a minute later walk through an opening. I was just searching the habitat for any movement. Hopefully another chance would be rekindled. And he was following that doe step for step, but he was about 20, I would say he was about 20 yards behind her. And she was walking through feeding, and he was tentatively just following her along, and she stepped through an opening, and I put my rifle scope in that opening in hopes that he would step in it. And boy, he stepped in it and stopped, and I was able to ease my safety off, and I killed him with one shot. It was about 80 yards through the cover. And yeah, he was following the doe, and you know, that has to be, he wasn't chasing her. It wasn't dramatic. It was just, real subtle. And I think that's probably the theme that I'm trying to drive at, is that the subtleness of the rut here in Florida, you really have to be paying attention if you want to up your chances for killing a buck. And there's another picture. My wife took this picture at the house of that same deer, and you can see he's got nice heavy bases, and he's just a great deer. And he's I think we aged him at 5.5 years old, and what a great buck. And all right, so this is another one here. This is a fine deer. Killed him in the Ocala National Forest, and I killed him in late December, early January. I say early January because I know of other guys that have killed noteworthy bucks. Now this is a noteworthy buck. This one here, when the issue of what was happening comes into conversation, this is the deer that you want to talk about, because this is not the norm. Okay, 8:30 in the morning, December 29th. Yeah, over a scrape that he has not pawed in several weeks. The last real activity that I saw on this scrape would have been just before Thanksgiving. And I hunted that scrape and hunted that scrape and hunted that scrape, and finally was able to kill this buck. It took me by surprise. And of course, I think it would probably take anybody by surprise, but it was such a great experience. And if I had not been hunting over what I perceived as a high likely spot, I probably would have never killed him. Probably would have never seen him. This buck was in the cover the whole time. When I say in the cover, that means if you were standing where he was standing when he came to the scrape, you couldn't see anything. All right, you couldn't see anything, and his behavior is just that. He was just a scrub buck that lived in the cover. He came to the scrape. He made a fatal mistake of turning around and going back the way he came, and I was able to shoot him as he stepped through an opening. And yeah, that was a pretty remarkable hunt. There's a lot to be learned from every hunt. You just ask yourself the question, what can I learn? Now, that's the same deer there. What an awesome buck. All right, so let's see, is that all of them? I think that's probably all of them. We got one more here. Okay, so these are my bucks on the display. All right, so all of these came from basically the same area, and all of them were killed same time of the year, early November. Okay, I think the latest one might be like the 5th, but all of these deer were killed in early November. So in that area, I've learned that if I wanted to kill me a good mature buck, maybe the best time to kill them is in early November. All right, let's go on to the next. All right, so this is the Ocala buck, and December 29th is when I killed that deer, and I killed him over a scrape that seemed inactive. And then of course this is my half moon buck over here. So let's see what else we got. Yep, that's the studio. I'm gonna call that the south wall of the studio. And yeah, pretty cool. I enjoy having my bucks, looking at them, admiring them. There's another angle. Same buck here. And on the other side of the wall there, I got my Georgia deer, and I'll show you those one day. But yeah, being inquisitive about why you killed, why you were successful, and gleaning information from that, I think it's a huge asset. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm going to go on a muzzleloader hunt tomorrow, so I'll see you on the other side. Love you guys. See you. Bye.